Okay, welcome back. Our next speaker is Mike Smithman, VP of Sales and Marketing at Metric Insights. He's going to show you why a BI portal is a valuable program resource. Remember to use theater mode to maximize your view. Mike, take it away.
Hi, thanks Chris, and thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be showing you how a BI portal solution can help manage and govern your BI environment. And I'm going to give you a short demo of the Metric Insights solution as well, to give you an idea of technically how you might implement something like this. So the reality is, in most organizations, BI has evolved over many years and has actually become quite a mess in the organization. And the reason is that BI is somewhat a victim of its own success. And what I mean by that is organizations have invested in many technologies over the years, resulting in environments that have multiple BI platforms alongside a whole host of other types of applications that contain BI and reporting in their own right. And the result is a maze of technologies that contain valuable information to the business. But the challenge becomes the end users, those business consumers of business intelligence who need information, but maybe only have a couple of minutes a day where they're focused on data, have become overwhelmed. What tools should they use? What reports and dashboards should they look at? Which are the correct ones? And ultimately, what content should they be trusting in the organization? What's governed and certified? And what should they be looking at to carry out their job? So in a lot of organizations, business users end up giving up and put pressure on BI teams to pull the data they need, and resulting in more reports, more dashboards, obsolete content, duplicative content, exacerbating the problem that we're talking about. And the reality is that we're still experiencing very low engagement with BI across the industry, and not because users don't have a hunger for information, but because it's just too difficult. It's too difficult to find the content that they're interested in. It's too difficult to figure out what content they should be trusting. And with that, ROI for BI is challenging in a lot of organizations. And that's in terms of the tools and the licenses that we're paying for. Are they ultimately getting used? In a lot of cases, no. But also in terms of the ROI on the team's time, the BI team, the analysts who are spending time fighting fires, creating content that already exists out there somewhere, because they're getting requests from the business. And in the current environment, in the current sort of economic environment where we have to justify every dollar that is being spent, this is critical that we solve this problem. And so, we know a BI portal as a type of technology helps sort of tidy up this mess that we're in today and justify the spends that we're making. I'm going to talk through sort of four pieces, four critical areas, and then we'll jump into sort of a demonstration of how you might implement some of this stuff. So the first is, don't rely on your users to go out to different tools and technologies to find what they need. What you need to do is provide a centralized catalog where you can essentially publish content in a governed way and keep it all in one place for your users. The second thing is, don't rely on people to come and find information. If there's something critical that they should be looking at, then we should be distributing that to them and sending it out to them in the right place, in the right format, whether that's email, whether that's to their mobile device, whether that's embedding it in other applications. It should be easy to consume. The third is, because there is this overwhelming amount of data that is available to people these days, we need to help them. And so if there's 100, 200 reports that I might be interested in at any point in time, help me uncover what's changing critically. Point me to the one or two where events are happening in the data that I should focus on because something has changed. And then finally, as a BI team, give us a way of sort of monitoring and managing the usage and the costs across our environments. So understand what people are looking at, what's being used, what isn't, that we can retire, and ultimately create and maintain a very engaging set of BI content. And so I'm going to take you through sort of the metric insights solution to this, but think of this, technology-wise, regardless of what you use, what do you need to accomplish here? And the first is obviously being able to connect into any source of BI, whether that's the underlying BI tools or reporting in other applications. And then what we're going to look at in the demonstration is really three things: that concept of organizing content in one place, that concept of helping users by uncovering what's changing, and then pushing content to people in the format that makes sense for them. So let's take a look at the Metric Insights platform. So what you're looking at here is the Metric Insights catalog. As I mentioned in the previous slide, we're connecting to different sources of BI in the organization. What we're initially trying to do is give analysts one single place to publish the content that they want users looking at. And so each of these tiles that you're seeing here is linked to a particular data source and a particular piece of content. And that can be the traditional sort of BI tools, Tableau, Power BI, but it could also be metrics coming from a particular application, documents, spreadsheets, wherever information is that's useful to our end users. And when an analyst publishes a piece of content like this Tableau workbook here, what we want to ensure is that they can give users the full context around what that asset is. So obviously we'll pick up what it's called, what the description is, when it was last updated. We'll also pick up an image of what it looks like as a preview for the users. But we allow the analysts to really layer on and categorize this content in a meaningful way. So for example, what metrics does it contain? And what are the definition and descriptions of those metrics? And who owns those definitions and descriptions? Who is the owner of the content in general? So the business owner who's responsible for the data or the technology behind it, so that there's accountability with it. What's the classification of the content? Is it sensitive? Is it internal to the company? Does it contain PII data? And therefore, give me an idea of how I should be using it. If I, as a user, get this categorization and this context, I can make a decision about whether this is a particular report that's going to be useful to me. And if it is, I should be able to click into it, get access to the live technology that's behind this report. So in this case, logging me into Tableau as my user, so I can navigate this as I would directly within that particular tool, but not have to worry about that this is Tableau or Power BI or what the technology is behind the scenes. And in accessing this report and working with it, I also get the context around it. So what are those metrics? What's the categorization? Even things like, what's the lineage of this report? Where did the data come from and where's it being used? And so I can really interpret these results, understand how I should be using it, and perform my analysis. In keeping people within this same environment as well and embedding these reports, we can wrap functionality around it to make it easy for them. So if they want to share it with other users or subscribe to it, they can easily. If they want to collaborate around it, we can enable that as well, again, to add additional context in. And whether I'm looking at Tableau, Power BI, a spreadsheet, the experience should be the same for the user. They shouldn't have to worry about what the underlying technology is behind the scenes. They can easily get to the content that they need. So connect to all your sources, give analysts a way of publishing content with context, organize it in a consistent way for your business. So regardless of where it exists in the underlying tools, we should be able to organize it in a consistent category hierarchy here. And ultimately give users a way of browsing or searching for content to help answer their questions. So, if I have questions around, what sales reports are out there, or what's this particular metric value today, be able to search for that content, search across the metadata that we've pulled in, bring back a ranked set of results that are relevant to that. So here's all the reports related to sales, and be able to filter out that content until I find what I need. So whether that's filtering out by the data source, whether it's looking at it by those different metadata tags that we spoke about, whether it's doing things like being able to certify the content in a way that allows me to filter out by that content that has been through a process so that I know I can trust it and who's accountable for it, and then drill into that to help me answer my questions. So organizing content and putting it into one place in a way that is governed and managed by the team allows us to give users an easy way of consuming that and finding what they're interested in. The second piece is that we can start to now present this content in different ways and distribute it in different ways. So we mentioned, this concept of creating a catalog, but not relying on users to have to come into it every day. We have different ways of doing that. One is simply through this concept of creating what we call landing pages or portal pages for users. And think of this as a way of saying, okay, if there's a particular type of persona within the organization, maybe in this case, someone responsible for sales and marketing, let's take the content that's most relevant to them out of the catalog and put it on a landing page, mash it up together so that they can easily access that. So in this case, it might simply be that I've got a number of metrics that I look at every day as a sales manager. There's a dashboard from Tableau and one from Power BI that I look at every day. So let's put that on a page. Let's make this the starting point when I come into the portal so that I can easily get the content I'm interested in. And if there's other things I want to search for or browse, I can go across to the broader catalog to look for those things. And so creating these persona-based landing pages that can be as simple or as complex as makes sense for your organization. So another view might be looking at, again, the key metrics and individual charts from different tools that I might be interested in with a set of recommended content that might be relevant to me. The experience can be tailored to the particular user and persona. So creating very curated experiences through portal pages, but also pushing it out to them as well. So, we still live in email, a lot of us right now. So let's, ensure that if there is critical content that I should be looking at every day as a user, that I can receive that every day in an email that makes sense. So showing me a summary of the most common content I look at. So, maybe metrics that have moved significantly, any that have generated unusual or interesting values, any dashboards that might have updated since I last received the email. All of that should be easily consumable in a single place. I can receive this sort of digest every day. And if there's things that are interesting to me, I can drill back into those and look at them in more detail. And so whether that's users self-serving to receive this content or whether you're pushing it out to them on their behalf, again, getting them the most critical content into the place where they're going to look at it is critical to driving engagement. We can also, as we mentioned in the slides, push out content based on events happening within the data. So doing things like tracking key metrics, like the ones with numbers on here, from the different sources of data that we have. We can track those metrics for significant changes. So in this case, I'm looking at sales by country over time and looking for statistically significant outliers within these time series so that we can start to not only distribute the content, but distribute it when we find something interesting in it. So if there is a significant drop in sales in a particular region that I'm responsible for, well, make sure that I'm being alerted to that so that I know it's occurring and send me the dashboard that has the details behind that metric so that I can go and look at it in more detail. So organize content in one place, distribute it out to users and make sure that they're not missing anything in the data or that they're looking at the things that they should be. And then thirdly, as a BI team, making sure we're tracking the usage and what's happening with engagement with what we're providing. So in Metric Insights, we track all the views of content, whether that's through the portal, whether that's because people are receiving it in email or looking at it on their mobile device, so that we can understand what content is most popular, what's increasing in popularity, but more interestingly, what's going unused or decreasing over time, down to a very detailed level, so that we can understand things like, if 63 views of this dashboard occurred, was it all on one day, or do we see engagement with users over time, an animation showing, are users coming in and out and looking at this often, or did they look at it once and never again, and therefore it's maybe not as useful as we thought. So understanding the usage patterns to drive engagement, and also what are people looking for. So as they search, like we did within the portal, are they finding reports and dashboards that are relevant to them, or are they not? And therefore we should be tagging content in a better way or creating new content to help them answer that. So we believe a BI portal is a way of really driving engagement and ROI with all that valuable content that you have out there, ensuring that we're spending our time on creating high value content for our users. Thanks for your time, and I'll hand it back to Chris.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. If you have questions, take them over to the Metric Insights booth in the exhibit hall. There, you can use the discussion, leave your card, or during exhibit hall hours, join their live meeting. You can also find a demo from Metric Insights, which is available at any time in the demo theater. Coming up in just a moment, we have a case study from Howard Folks, who will share with you how a small team supports thousands of users at his company, RD Offit. I will see you there.